It is time now to know what's on the front pages of Nigerian newspapers. And joining me is political technocrat Dr. Dayo Kayode. Our second guest will join us shortly. But then let's head straight to the papers. And I begin with the Daily Times. Again, Nigeria exits recession. Again, Nigeria exits recession. You find details of this story on the front page of the Daily Times. Let's quickly move now to the Nigerian News Direct. Nigeria's economy grows by 0.51% in first quarter amid 1.72 barrels per day oil production. You find the story on the front page of the Nigerian News Direct. To the Business AM, hold rates. Analysts unwavering amid disinflation as MPC meet. Hold rates. Analysts unwavering amid disinflation as MPC meets. To the Business Day, Nigeria's largest FMCG's profits far from pre-pandemic levels. Nigeria's largest FMCG's profits far from pre-pandemic levels despite recovery signs. You find details of the story on the pages of the Business Day. To the national economy now. Serap to federal government. How did you spend 289 billion naira recovered loot? Serap asking the federal government questions there. How did you spend 289 billion naira recovered loot? Details of the story on the pages of the national economy. To the first news now, exclusive Chief of Army Staff, Army Generals jostle to replace late Atahiru. Army Generals jostle to replace late Atahiru. You find details of the story on the pages of the first newspaper. To the blueprint now, insecurity. Bandits abduct 14 in Kaduna. NAF rescues scores. Bandits abduct 14 in Kaduna. NAF rescues scores. 20 gunmen invade FCT, abduct father, son. Police fail abduction of motorists in Oshun. You find details of all of the stories on the pages of the blueprint. To the leadership now. Kaduna military air crash raises concern over safety of Beechcraft. Kaduna military aircraft raises concern over safety of Beechcraft. All right, we'll find details of the story on the pages of the leadership newspaper. To the Punch newspaper now. Chief of Army Staff, 10 others death. Air Force to decide on military jets after probe. We won't rush to take decisions that will hamper our operations. NAF. Nigeria Air Force plane crashes claim 33 officers, 11 aircraft in 6 years. All right, you find details of the story on the Punch newspaper. To the Guardian now, military plane crashes, civil mishaps raise safety concern. Beechcraft King, the 350 aircraft record second crash in 3 months. Check inclement weather trend, Ojikutu warns. Stakeholders insist on thorough probe, public disclosure of findings, better regulatory oversight. Afenifere calls on military to check its fault, says 3 crashes in 4 months inexcusable. Nigerians expressing concern, understandable, says Air Force spokesman. To the Daily Trust newspaper now, 4 policemen, 44 others killed in gunmen attacks. Police station attacked in Ebonyi, Zamfara. 5 headers killed, 59 cattle shot in Plateau. 3 kidnappers lynched in Adamawa. Sakwato villagers flee to Niger Republic. All right, to this day newspaper, Southwest leaders tell region separatist agitators to back off, advocate federalism, reallocation of resources, and those Southern governors' ban on open grazing. To the Vanguard newspaper now, State of the Nation, no to cessation, Southwest governors, APC leaders declare. Tinubu, Oshoba, Akonde, Gbaja lead others to talks. Southwest APC leaders oppose separatists, ask agitators to desist, call for devolution of powers to states, back Southern governors, Asaba declaration. All right, to the Daily Sun. Yoruba APC leaders reject Oduduwa Biafra option, back open grazing ban, state police true federalism, can count me out of Yoruba nation agitation, Akeredolu speaking there. All right, and finally, on the Nation newspaper, Southwest APC leaders reject cessation agitation. Tinubu, Akonde, Akiriande, Agbajabiamila, Oshoba, governors, okay, ban on open grazing. All right, gentlemen, let's quickly touch on this story coming out from the meeting of Southwest governors before we look at other stories. They are supporting the ASUP declaration by the South governors, the 17 Southern governors, and they are saying that they are not supporting any agitation on cessation, be it Oduduwa Nation or be it Biafra. And they are calling for restructuring or true federalism. They are calling for state police, and they are saying that there has to be a devolution of power, which is already clearly stated in the Constitution. Dr. Dayo Kayode.
Yes, thank you, Veronica, for bringing up this issue. You recollect that sometimes last week on this particular platform, I spoke about what we were to do in Ibadan, the convergence we were to do in Ibadan. And most, 90% of speakers at that particular convergence also supported this, that there shouldn't be any kind of agitation for secession in our country now. Because some of them even looked at the map being drawn by the Biafrans. They're now saying, okay, if you are drawing this map, if you look at it, the Igbos, they form the largest of that particular map they are showing. They're now saying, look, where do you now put South-South? That is in the minority. All right? Bearing in mind that Africans naturally were naturally ethnocentric, that are those ones not going to be in the same way, are not going to be treated the same way the Igbos are saying they are being treated now. Right. That they will prefer to even be under Yoruba Hausa hegemony than to be under Igbo. Some of the Igbo people South people that spoke there. Now let's come to Yoruba. Let's come to Yoruba. Look at Akeredolu now. He said he's not supporting this. All right? Somebody like me, I'm not also supporting it. I'm also a Yoruba leader. And so also some other Yoruba leaders are not supporting this. The issue is this, that I want these people that are talking about secession to think of. It is high time Africa as a continent emerge in activities of the world. All right. And like Mandela said, he said for Africa to emerge, Nigeria needs to get its acts together. And rather than us calling for secessionist activities, let us get our acts. Yeah, we're having issues in Nigeria, no doubt about it, in terms of leadership and all that. But these are issues that we can sit down and correct. Let us
that is convoking a national conference. Is that what you're saying?
It is even beyond convoking a national conference. We have been having conferences here and there. So like how do we have the conversation? The issue is the government should give people themselves an enabling, like the one we did in Ibadan last week, an enabling environment to discuss among themselves. Do you understand? To discuss among themselves, and they will come to a conclusion. And when they come to that conclusion, they submit their conclusions to the government. Because the democracy is government by the people for the people. So let the people decide themselves. Remember
one of the reactions that came out after the ASUP declaration was from the National Assembly, the leadership of the National Assembly, saying the governors have to begin from their states, whatever demands they are asking for, be it whatever it is, and all of that. So are you saying that the governors do not have a role to play? They have to wait for the federal government?
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, let the governors go and meet anywhere. Let the governors come up with resolutions. Their resolutions are going to be tainted with their hedonistic tendencies. Their revolutions are going to be tainted with a further entrenching their hegemony on the people, all right? But then, for the people's opinion to come up, for any convergence to be acceptable in this country, it has to be people-oriented. Let me give you an instance. Right, look at the one being convoked by PDP in 2014. There is no how APC we want to look at it, because there is what we call party rivalry.
But, right, look at whatever is going on is beyond politics. We have to. But no matter what, hasn't it gotten to the point where we need to shove politics aside?
Politicians will not look at it that way, and that's why I'm saying it has to be people-oriented. Right. They have to give the people an enabling environment. Do you understand? To do this thing and then come up with people's agenda. But when they come up with people's agenda, then government should now take it and then use it. Because that one will be devoid of all the necessary fears.
Let's have all the necessary fears
of the people
perspective
about the government.
Now, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
First of all, now, one would expect, because we see these agitators moving from one state to the other, one would expect that the Southwestern governors should have begun to engage these people to tell them their position, saying, we are not in support of what it is you are talking about. Don't you think?
We still have the same problem from the center to the states level.
All right. In what sense?
There is disconnection between the leaders and the people. And thank God, Dr. Dayo just affirmed that many of them leaders endorsed the position of no secession at all. But have they asked some of us that are not leaders?
What your position is?
What our positions are.
Okay, so let me ask you now. What's your position?
My position is, if this country still continues to run a defective constitution, there's no way we won't have this all these journeys for secession. And for me, you cannot have a federalism that is so defective like this. You have powers that are supposed to be in the states, in the center. So people cannot do what they're supposed to do. So even the Holy Book says, when the foundation is not okay, what can the righteous do? So we will just be moving in circles. So now, the problem is the leadership. We try as much as possible to talk about the symptoms of problems, not the root causes of problems. When we were talking about all these other things that have to do with what's it called, that we're discussing?
Cessation.
Secession, the governors did not agree. If we talk about autonomy for the local governments and for the JUSON and the legislature, they will not agree. But the only thing they agreed on recently is the fact that petroleum should go to 380 naira per litre. It was a unanimous agreement. So why will people not cry out? Let me ask a question. These people that have been saying they want this, especially the Yoruba angle to it, the Yoruba Nation activists, have they been violent about it? They've not. They've been like rallies, moving from one place to the other. And I've seen a kind of pattern that these people are going about it. What they're trying to do is just awareness, create awareness. They're going about it the United Nations approach. And that is still the democracy we're talking about.
Having a conversation.
So it's the United Nations approach. You do this at this time, you do this. The government has not been answering them. They will send letters to the government. They will do all this allegedly and reportedly. The government has not yielded.
So what does that say on the part of the government if they are coming out to say we are not in support, but not responding to what this person's messages allegedly, according to you, have been sending?
I think the leaders just believe in the power of fiat. It doesn't work in a democracy.
But the issue
engagement is what works in a democracy. Understanding is what works in a democracy. So if we are blaming the governors at the center over some issues, then even the state.
It should start from your home. Charity should begin from your home.
It should start from the states. So you can't continually blame them, because yesterday it was Biafra secessionists, and when they did not get the attention they needed, we can see the trend of violence in that area. Today is Yoruba Nation. You will not answer them again. Tomorrow it will be South, the Niger Delta. You won't answer them again, then Pandev joins. So, and you start having a
dimensional challenge.
Veronica,
challenge.
You see, there is nothing wrong with our constitution. It's only the operators. For instance, our constitution,
the governors are part of.
They are part of.
Right.
Our constitution stipulates as regards separation of power. Our constitution gives room for federal character. Okay, but where are they today? So it is not, I always say, it's not about the constitution. It's about those that are operating it. They always look at lacuna. And it is those lacunas they act upon. And that is where I was talking about lack of leadership that is purposeful, that has capacity and that has character with compassion to the people. Not until when we try to look for leaders that has character, that has capacity, and that has compassion for the people, it will always be the way it is. It is not about our constitution. Our constitution shows that it is a federal state. It's a federal state. And then whereby we're supposed to have resource control and resource allocation. Do you understand? But are we following it? No. So those are the issues. When people talk about constitution, I just look at them. Is it not the same constitution that we abandoned, that the people in Middle East are still using, our necessary constitution that they are using? It's not about, it's about the operators of the constitution. And not until, like I said, when we get our acts right, whereby we have leaders that has those 3 C's, then the situation will still be the same.
What are the three C's again?
Character,
yes,
capacity, and compassion for the people.
Interesting. Now let's
if I may chip something in
quickly before we move on.
I'm not. I still believe the constitution is the problem. Let me tell you why. Nigeria is the only federation whereby security is controlled from the center. That's one. Nigeria is the only federation whereby even resource control is controlled from the center. So the constitution, Dr. Dayo is referring to a 1963 constitution. We're talking about 1999 constitution as amended.
Yes.
Now because
and
the
an amendment going on.
Yes,
it gives room for resource control, but our governors don't know how to assess it.
Resource control.
They refuse to look outside the box.
The resource control that when you want to
Abuja,
get ordinary dredging license at the back of your house, you have to get it from Abuja. That's the resource control we're talking about. What is the role
of CAC in this? Go to CAC.
It's not about CAC, it's in the constitution.
Right.
Dr. Dayo, is in the constitution. You have to go to Abuja to get a license to dredge a river basin behind your house.
So how are governors beginning to engage even the government?
The water resource bill is still a problem.
I'm sorry to use this word. Our governors have been sleeping. Instead of them to wake up and look outside the box.
We have to be careful with choice of words.
No, that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's the only word I can use. They have to look outside the box rather than always thinking of how to go to Abuja to collect money. Look at what is happening in Lagos State. Lagos State stayed during Baba Basojo's tenure without allocation from Abuja. And they survived it. So why can't other states look at all that? And then to see how they can survive without Abuja.
All right.
But that Abuja has so much gotten into them that they don't want to think outside the box. Look at what some other governors are now doing in their states.
We have to move forward now quickly to this other issue because of want of time. But I guess the points have been made at addressing the conversation, looking outside of the box and ensuring that conversations are had with the necessary stakeholders if the governors are saying that they are not in support of cessation. Now, the next issue we are to look at is the ongoing ASUP strike, talking about polytechnics, the Union of Polytechnic. And this has been on for some time now, and they have made certain demands. Their issue is the fact that government keeps reneging on its agreement, which is something we have seen when you talk about JUSUM, when you talk about the doctors, when you even talk about ASUP, NLC, governments reneging on its agreement with these people, and they keep, having this conversation. At what point will we be able to hold government to account and say, this is it, let us, deliver on what you have said?
At a point at which they decide among themselves to change the narratives. Because the same narratives...
On whose part now?
I mean, did you be honest? You know the people you are dealing with. These are history that have been over, that has I mean, since I was growing up, it's the same story all over and over again, since Papa Umodu. So why don't you change your narratives? Like, for instance, you are negotiating. You have to tell them, look, you have to do this at so point in time, because based on our research, they need to do their research, because government is doing their research all the time. Because they're always ahead of them.
Keeps spilling over into successive governments.
So you have to say, look, with our research, you have these resources to take care of this within 4 months. You have this for 6 months, for 1 year, and all that. That is to say, they have to come up with action plans, research-based action plans, with consequences of reneging at each stage. Do you understand? Consequences of reneging. What
kind of consequences are you looking at?
Different types of consequences. It might be sit up, it might be sit down, it might be occupation, it might be anything. So they need to sit down and change the narratives they have been using for a very long time. Like, for instance, I was telling Labour the other time that they are the one causing these problems for themselves.
How so?
How can you be asking for wage increment? How can you be asking for wage increment all the time? No. Ask for sustainable minimum living standard. Because when you ask for sustainable minimum living standard, that means there is a level in which everybody should be. Any increase in any of the services will distort the balance. And the moment that distortion happens, the government needs to quickly upgrade to that sustainable level. Do you understand? Those are issues that I've been telling them to come up with. Instead of, now they asked for minimum wage. They were giving minimum wage of, I think, 18,000 or thereabout. Immediately that thing was approved, the following week, VAT was increased by 2.5%. So it has distorted that minimum wage. Before you know it, electricity was increased. Before you know it, petroleum this was increased. So until labor unions decide to change the narrative, the one that will fit into the 21st century of engagement, will be seeing the same thing all over and over again.
Shijibomi, let's get your perspective to this. Although the reaction from certain quarters is that they should call off this strike, that government does not have the funds that they are asking for. But then when you look at how these unions engage government to get what they want, what do you see is missing or it's lacking such that government keeps reneging and they are not getting what they want out of government?
Dr. Kayode mentioned some things, and what is lacking obviously is selflessness. It's the same leadership issue we have in every sector of the nation, be it in the executive, legislature, and in sectors like education, even economic sector. People just want to feather their nest, and people think about what benefits them and their maybe association. They don't see beyond their nose. They don't see the ripple effect every action they take causes on the polity. So it's the same problem. The only strike that has been reasonable and sensible in Nigeria since I started checking out strikes was the JUSUN strike. Because it wasn't about their own payment. They made mention of it 2 or 3 years ago. They said when it was about payment, they came to the round table, they talked to their superiors, and it was addressed. And their money was increased. But this one has to do with the constitution and the well-being of the third arm of government, which is the most important. Even 2 arms of government, legislature and judiciary. At least outside of Lagos State, I've been to 2 courts in this country. And the last one was in Benin. I've been going to that court for 5-6 years, or Redo something magistrate court, for 6 years. And they've been building and building for 6 years. The court I use, where my case is being adjudicated, you are in the court and you are in fear about the wooden panel on the floor and that holds the window. Because you are looking at it, this could give off anytime. In 21st century. So when you have, and when JUSUN saw that and saw a lot of all these other, let me not use the word that I'm not supposed to use on TV, that are going on in the politics, they said, no, enough is enough. Now, all these people, what are they supposed to do? He has said he changed the narrative. How do we change the narrative without wasting people's, students' time? They are intellectuals, for God's sake. So think outside the box. Right here and then, I'm even thinking, can you make the children go through their 4 years or 5 years without hindrance, but let the government know from so year, the admin structure of any university will not release, the lecturers will not even release results. Yeah. So they can we can not waste the students' time, but as if the job is even there, let's not say, so you can hold on to their result till the government does the needful, instead of wasting those people's time. Right. So these people are intellectual. It's not my job. It's not my profession. It's their profession. They should think about different ways so that it's a win on their side, it's a win on the student, then they hold the government by the jugular. So these are the things I see. But the truth about it is, all these leaders, political leaders, educational leaders, everybody wants to just feather their nest. And Nigeria is just going towards the precipice every day. And we're not doing anything to return it back to the path it should take.
Sorry. Your final word, yeah.
Yeah, my final word will be in appreciating the press for the support they gave us last week, Thursday. You guys are doing marvelously well. All right. With your support, with the press support, honestly speaking, Nigeria is going to be back on the track of growth and development. Thank you.
You're welcome. Shiji, your final word on the conversations.
Nigeria will be great again.
All right, we can only keep hope alive. Thank you so much, Public Affairs Analyst Shijibomi Adebi Bennett and Political Technocrat Dr. Dayo Kayode, for your time on the program.